Well, if you switch jobs in the past few years, chances are you got an old 401k sitting somewhere, maybe collecting some dust, possibly even fees. So today we're answering a listener's question that came in about what to do with that old 401k. Does a rollover make sense? And how to avoid some of those common pitfalls that come with making the switch. Welcome in. Glad to have you once again. And Ryan, we're talking today about a listener question here on Perfect Game Retirement. This is a good question that came in. I know one that you get into a lot. So I just want to throw the question your way and we'll start breaking it down here. So William's question is, I recently left a job where I had a 401k and I keep hearing that I should probably roll it into an IRA, but I don't really know why. So are there any benefits to doing this? And what happens if I just leave it where it is? So where do you want to start with this question?
Yeah. So, starting with the kind of last point that you made, could you leave your 401k there? Sure. You could leave it there. Make sure, you have your login information correct. Make sure addresses are updated. So if you're getting paper statements sent to you, you're still keeping track of it. The problem is people start losing track of things after a while because sometimes they may switch jobs and they just kind of leave it there because they like the 401k, and that's fine. Some 401ks there's very different 401ks out there. Some are fantastic, some are not fantastic. I've seen the full breadth of that. So you can leave it there. A lot of times if there's low account balances, they'll make you move it because your employer is basically paying per participant. And so if there's a bunch of small account balances, they want those cleaned up. They want those off their radar, if they will. And so a lot of times, sometimes they'll give you a window to be able to roll this over. And if not, they'll send you a check. So hopefully that's not the case here, William. But yes, you could leave it where it's at. Again, you're probably not getting any quote unquote help with it. And you do have a limitation on the investments. Now, you may have great investments and that may not be an issue. But you do, most 401ks have anywhere from 5 to 30 different options. I've seen more, but it kind of gets paralysis by analysis. If you have 1,000 choices, then people are like, oh my gosh, I have no idea what to pick. Well, what do? They just go and look at the ones that had the highest rates of return. That's usually not the case. And if you don't do anything, the default investment is usually a target date fund based off of your age. And then when you reach the age of 65, I'm not a huge target date fan. At least it's something. At least it's invested in something. Then over time, it gets a little bit more conservative as you get older. But I'm not a fan for that because it's not complete 100%. Forget it, set it and forget it type of thing. Sometimes they get too conservative too quickly, but then different target date funds have different risks to them. So if you have a 2040 fund with Fidelity or Vanguard or Schwab or T. Rowe Price or whoever, even they may have the same year tacked onto it, they may have completely different investment risk tolerances to those. So you need to be aware of those. I usually tell people, whether you use an advisor or not, I usually tell people the main two options you should do is roll it into your new plan if it's decent or good, or just roll it to an IRA. Again, whether you use an advisor or just do it on your own. I usually don't like to leave it at the previous one because what if they switch record keepers or if they switch custodians? Then all of a sudden you had one with Fidelity and now they're with John Hancock or whatever examples you want to use. And so it's just, sometimes it's tougher to keep track of. But then I've seen so many instances where people sit down with us and go, well, I got 4 or 5 old 401ks and I need to consolidate. I'm like, oh my goodness, what if you pass away? Trying to track those down is a giant headache. So it just comes from a consolidation thing, peace of mind thing, that the others, loved ones that you will leave behind, it's just easier to have it mostly in one place.
If someone like William decides to do a rollover, are there anything from a tax standpoint they need to worry about? Any implications to doing this?
Yeah, obviously, depending on and people that we help with, we always have to see a statement. I got to see a statement. So we got to look and see what money is inside of it. Meaning, is it all pre-tax? Is it Roth? Is there after-tax contributions? All those are different. So you want to make sure you're rolling it into the proper account on the other side from an IRA standpoint. So I've had people before, oh no, it's all pre-tax, and I get it, and I'm like, no, there's Roth money in there, so we got to make sure that Roth money goes to a Roth IRA, and the pre-tax money goes to a rollover IRA. So you want to keep those accounts, because they're taxed differently. You don't want to commingle those and then pay tax again on that Roth money. So there can be some hiccups when you do this. So you just want to make sure you know what money you do have, and it's being rolled over to the proper accounts that you have set up on the other side from the IRA or the Roth IRA standpoint. So you do want to make sure. Now, if you just take a check, depending on your age, if you take money out of a 401k directly, usually 20% federal withholding is automatic. You can't get around that. And some people don't need 20% taken out. If it's in an IRA, you can take 5% tax out, 10%, 12%, whatever amount you want to. But out of a 401k, it's pretty much standard that you have to take a 20% haircut off the top from a federal tax rate standpoint. And then obviously, if you're younger than 59 and a half, or excuse me, I should say, if it's coming from a 401k, if you're younger than 55, then you have a 10% penalty on top of that. So just a lot of hiccups you want to avoid. So make sure you're doing it properly.
And I know you mentioned, having more flexibility with investments is one of the reasons why many people move that money out of that old 401k. How do you help someone choose which investments work? I know, again, the options are greater, which means, again, it can be a little more difficult, I guess, to select what truly fits you.
Yeah, I mean, so that may be a blessing and a curse. You have unlimited options in an IRA. Well, again, if someone's doing it on their own, they may not know where to begin, what to invest in. Obviously, that's where, we help out, because we have unlimited resources as far as what investments to put people in, and that's great. But then for some people, it may be overwhelming. But that's where we come into play to help out with stuff like that. So and then sometimes investments in a 401k, they've come more cost effective over the years. But man, for a while, that the internal expenses on some of these funds are insanely high. And I'm like, man, there's no reason to be paying internal expenses that are this high. You can move it out and put it in single stocks if you want that have no internal expense, ETFs, which are very, very cost effective. And then most mutual funds have come down as well. So you want to be cognizant of what is the internal expense as well inside of there. You don't want to be paying for an index S&P 500 fund. You don't want to be paying a large expense for that, where you can do that outside and pay almost nothing for something like that. So you want to be aware of what you're paying internally, and then obviously the investments that you have inside the 401k and what you could have outside the 401k.
All right, that covers William's question pretty well. Just one little quick curveball here, Ryan. Let's say William is still working at that company. Are there any options for rolling the money out of the 401k then if you're still employed?
That's a great question, and it's a it depends answer. So every 401k has a plan document or a plan summary. And so sometimes it allows for what they call in-service distribution. So an in-service distribution is still working at that company, contributing to a 401k, and then basically moving it out to your own IRA. Some plans allow this, some plans don't. That's where that plan summary comes in. And I have people saying, I'm like, don't worry about, just find the document. And if you don't have access, you should have access to that document in your login of your 401k. And if you don't, have somebody from HR or the advisory company that's helping out. You do have access to a plan summary. I tell people, don't look for it, send it to me. I've seen 10 million of these things. I can find it really fast. So it'll give the details of a plan summary and what in-service distributions you can do. Had a client come by the office the other day, and he had an in-service distribution check. He could only do a certain percentage. He could not do the full amount until he got to 59 and a half. Now, that's not a hard rule with every plan, but you can ask, hey, what are my in-service distribution options? My dad worked for a utility company for decades, and they could move money out as soon as they put it in. But then some don't allow it at all. So anyways, it's a great question. It depends, but a lot of people take advantage of those in-service distributions because once it's out, you can invest it how you want, and then you can do Roth conversions with it if you want to. A lot of options there.
All right, very good. Well, if you have questions about what to do with that 401k or how to invest that money, again, go to speakwithryan.com to get on Ryan's calendar there, Black Oak Asset Management. And also request the book, Diffuse the Retirement Threats. There's a link down in the description of the show, which you can get a copy of the retirement toolkit that Ryan and the team offer there. Some great insights and some great information for you. Again, if you're just looking to learn more, there's a great place to start there with the book and the toolkit. So again, thanks for being a part of the show. We appreciate your support here on the channel. Please subscribe if you haven't already. And Ryan, we'll talk to you again soon.
Yes, sir.